My guest today is Delilah Crosby, a community leader and advocate for family court reform. Her area of focus is parental alienation, and she has given presentations on the topic at college campuses and at the state capitol. Her family has been the victim of parental alienation, and the mother, Delilah, a mother of six, has gone back to college to learn about the legal system so she can one day reform it from within. Delilah, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's an important topic. Let's start with a definition of parental alienation.
First, I just want to say it's such a highly debated topic right now,
Mhm.
so I don't agree with how they're addressing it. It
Okay.
pretty much is just psychological child abuse, is really what it is. But the definition of parental alienation is a strategy whereby one parent intentionally displays to the child unjustified negative um, thoughts and feelings against the other parent.
Mhm.
So in layman's terms, I hate dad, so you need to hate dad too, or I hate mom, so you need to hate mom too.
What situations do we see parental alienation arise? And go ahead and describe some of the signs of it.
So one of the bigger issues with this is the first sign is parents not even letting them talk on the phone, but then it carries on to the whole not calling them by dad or
Mm.
mom. And you also find, like in our situation, we went to the school and she wrote in her husband as father. And then she put that we were not around, which was completely untrue. So we had to fix those records.
Mm.
But even the school would not recognize us as dad and mom because of mom's influence on the school. And so a lot of these children, I mean, that's a huge red flag. I always tell teachers, like, if you're saying draw your family and they're not putting their father on there, that's a sign of alienation right there. If you're fighting over church events, getting a baptism, things like that, and they're not saying there's a dad and they're saying this is dad now, it's very, I mean, stepdads are even participating in this. New boyfriends are participating in this
Mhm.
alienation because they're also saying, call me dad. I'm now
Mhm.
your dad. And so it's very concerning, basically, that parents are telling their children not to call their parent their parent. And we dealt with that. It was very heartbreaking. My child couldn't even celebrate Veterans Day, and her father is a Purple Heart veteran.
Oh my God.
But she would be uncomfortable to stand up that she's the child of a veteran. She would not put his name up, his picture up, or nothing at her school events. It was devastating. And this child will forever, every Veterans Day, every military thing, she's going to think of her father. Even if you are saying she's not, she will.
For the alienated parents, unfortunately, a lot of moms and dads out there have experienced this. What can they do to mitigate or reverse the damage from this?
So the courts don't even want to recognize parental alienation.
Yeah.
We did file a successful temporary restraining order and
Mhm.
requested emergency custody, and it was granted based on parental alienation.
Mhm.
But the courts were quick to reverse that to keep us fighting, of course.
Mhm.
And so there are remedies to it. You just unfortunately have to word everything right. I do believe that you need a counselor. We did have counselors involved. We did have CPS involved. And so that was all sufficient evidence for us to show, this child is dealing with, like I said, I like to use the word psychological abuse. So the courts can't get around that whole
Mhm.
discussion about parental alienation. But we did write in our TRO, which I'm willing to share with you as well. There is in the affidavit, it does state the words, she's being alienated. And we did have CPS and support. So that's one route you can go. But I mean, it takes so much proof and other people to help you push that through in a court because they don't want to hear about parental alienation. Now,
Mhm.
another route that I found out that you can take is whole nother lawsuit, intentional infliction of emotional distress. And you can prove that, hey, my child's not calling me father because her mother is saying this. It is hurting us both. My child now has to go to counseling for these issues, and that's costing me, the alienated parent. I need to recover some funds. So I've been looking into that. Seeing how it applies to this so you can kind of remove it from the family court and
Yeah.
tackle it another way, and then you can bring it back to the family court.
Once if you're able to regain time with your child after alienation and you have them, what do you say to them? How do you begin to, because you want to be careful, obviously, you're very sensitive, but how do you begin to rebuild those relationships they've been lied to?
Well, the courts love to do this thing called reunification therapy or step
Mhm.
up programs, which basically punishes the alienated parent and not the actual
Mhm.
uh, person who's perpetrating. the abuse. And so reunification therapy basically puts a counselor in the picture to reunify the parent and child. This child can either be angry or sad, just confused overall. And that is going to cost money.
Mm.
There's also there is some cases where they have fully transferred custody, but then that parent is also having to navigate those by going through counseling, disciplinary problems
Yeah.
at home because of this. So it really is, it's got to be nipped really early because
Gotcha.
they say when a child hits, I believe it was 12 or 13 years old, it's
Mm.
kind of lost.
What resources are out there? Are there any websites, blogs? Who would you suggest people follow just to keep learning about this?
So right now, the one in Texas that I brought with me to college was Wendy Perry. She is known kind of in the Tarrant County area
Yeah.
for her advocacy for parental alienation.
Mm.
She runs support groups as well. We are having a lot more groups branched off as well for that. But she's really the face of it out here in this area right now. And she also has an event called Bubbles of Love that happens on April 25th, I believe. Well, it kind of changes every
Okay.
year, the date, but overall, you go out and raise awareness in that aspect. We're trying to raise more awareness because there's not enough support for this. And so we reach out to mayors every year, try to get a proclamation that, this is child abuse, this
Mm.
is domestic abuse. Really, people don't want to call it that, but it really is. It's coercive control against the other parent, and you're using a child as a tool. Um, Other support group, I really just suggest going to counseling. Like I said, you can then use that in court. So if you're seeing a counselor for your struggles, a lot of people don't realize, you need to go talk to someone. You are hurt. Men crying,
Mm.
men committing suicide over these issues. So men getting killed over these issues,
Sure.
women as well, but it's
Imagine.
mostly a male problem.
Where can folks find information on Wendy Perry?
So you can find Wendy Perry on Facebook. She has a private group with over 5,000 members. It is
Mm.
called Parental Alienation Support and Education Global. So
Oh,
it's not just local. We're trying to make this global. I do have some people there from Australia that are regularly in contact with me. It's
mhm.
very interesting because some of these laws are the same over there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But you can find her through that group or look her up, Wendy Perry on
Okay.
Facebook.
We encourage folks to do that. And Delilah, we wish you the best as you pursue your education and try to get inside the system. And a lot of parents have experienced parental alienation. I have myself. It's just very painful, and it needs to come to an end somehow. So it's good that we're talking about it, and we appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much.